The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Teflon Pan Man. I'm the Teflon Pan Man. Ain't nothing gonna stick on me.
Everyone, welcome to All You Can Eat. It is the podcast about deliciousness. I'm Robert Rosenthal, your host. You can call me Rob. Rob, the recommender, coming to you live, as I like to do on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 8:03, 8:04. That's generally what it happens to be. Live from New York, in this case, the eastern end of Long Island, New York, on 6/10/20. It's the 10th day of June, and my 10th week in the in the pandemic time frame. And I, like many other people, have been quarantine. I mean, quarantine is not really the right word, right? Because quarantine literally means that you're not going out at all, and nobody's coming in. But we've been hermits, man. We've been spending a ton of time over at home, and so things have changed, right? I mean, you do things differently, and from my perspective, I mean, you certainly spend a lot more time, in and around the kitchen. Right? Because if you're working from home, as an example, you can't help but be closer to the kitchen than you would be if you were in an office. And plus, you're in a position where, since you're not going out to restaurants, you're cooking a lot more. And one of the things, of course, since you're not shopping as much, is that you're relying a lot more on what you kind of can save in the fridge, in the freezer, in the in the pantry over there. I came across this research. It was just released today. As you know, it says the pandemic has placed a increased level of attention on how we can, on what we're, consumption, what we're eating, essentially these days, as people have kind of abandoned, oftentimes, their normal dietary routines. I know, certainly, I'm looking at COVID-19 as the 19 pounds I've gained during this thing, and not only because more food, but more alcohol. I want to get later to some recommendations, which include the very lovely mezcal that I'm enjoying here, neat, right now on the show, sent to me by the good people of the brand called Recuerdo, which means to remember, remember in Spanish. Anyway, I digress here. People have abandoned their normal dietary routines, and they seem to be finding some pleasure in comfort foods. This is not a surprise, but not all of those comfort foods are necessarily healthy. Of course, some are better than others. Now, according to a recent survey, consumers say there's one category of food that has provided an optimal blend of both comfort and nutrition during the pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking bread and pasta. I'm not here to tell you, by the way, that I agree with the people that have sent me the research, because they represent, bread and pasta companies. That said, the survey is still the survey, and it was over 1,000 Americans from across the country revealed that approximately 1/3 named pasta and bread as foods that are comforting during a stressful time. And I'll tell you what, I don't need to do sophisticated research to tell you that those are foods that are comforting at all times. Nearly 1/3 also identified bread and pasta as high in nutritional value, in contrast, that is, to comfort foods such as ice cream and fast food. And I suppose if you look at it as, against hot fudge sundaes and Malamars, bread and pasta, not so bad. In addition, nearly half, 44%, said that while bread making is a fun activity, which I don't know, I mean, not for me. I get that people are excited about making bread now, but it seems it's not a long-term solution to their ongoing need for bread. So you can't go to the store these days and find flour on the shelves, apparently. And everybody seems to be making their own starter. But once we get back to some normalized routine, some semblance of life as we remember it, maybe not so much on the bread making, which is okay for me too, because bread making is lovely if you like doing that kind of thing. I don't. I like fire, I like spices, I like proteins, and I like pasta. A baguette I can go buy somewhere. Speaking of baguettes that I can go buy, before we get into the recommendations for this evening's program, which include not only the lovely Recuerdo Mezcal, but also some fabulous pretzels that I've found, some amazing salsa that I've come across, and there's something else. I don't remember what it was exactly, but that's okay. We're going to come back to that. But since we were speaking of bread anyway, today I found what they're calling the Encyclopedia of Sandwiches. I want to take you through these because, well, for two reasons. Number one, we can determine whether or not this list is the ultimate comprehensive list of all the kind of sandwiches. And which of these, and they're numbered, but I don't think they're numbered. They're not numbered in any order. This is one of these social media things where you see these 40 sandwiches, lovely to look at, by the way, and hunger-inducing. And they basically go, hey, pick the one you are. Here we go. Number one, ladies and gentlemen, it is the bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich, which is surprising, but not if you come from New York, because that is a classic and yummy construction. Number two, the grilled cheese, no argument there. Number three, pulled pork. The pulled pork sandwich, on a lovely roll, maybe with some slaw and barbecue sauce. I'll take that in a heartbeat. Number four, the banh mi. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I've said it before because I've discussed it before. The banh mi sandwich, French baguette filled with some kind of roasted pork and maybe a little bit of pate oftentimes, and certainly some crunchy pickled carrot, hot peppers, cilantro. To me, one of the greatest sandwiches in the world, if you can get your hands on it. Not everybody can, right? Because you need, this is where kind of like having ethnic communities in the area make a difference, right? If you go to San Francisco, you're going to get a great banh mi. You can certainly get them in New York or other cities where we have some kind of Vietnamese population. But what a beautiful sandwich that is. My second favorite sandwich in the world. Number five, BLT. Classic. Nobody arguing with that. Number six, the Italian sub. And the thing that characterizes the Italian sub, of course, aside from the cured meats, gabagool, all the sopressata and ham and whatever else, is that they put, the thing that makes that sandwich, fabulous and unique is oil and vinegar as your dressing. Number seven, the Thanksgiving. Fine. It's hard for me to get excited over that. I understand why people would. It's the leftovers from the night before on bread. Number eight, lobster roll. Hello, New England. Hey, Boston, New Hampshire, Maine. The lobster roll is fantastic. One of the classic American. Nowhere else in the world you're going to get a lobster roll than you are here in these United States of America. On like a buttered split roll, soft, potato roll, whatever bun with beautiful lobster, oftentimes mostly made with a little bit of mayo. Sometimes you can skip the mayo and have it made with butter, all good. The turkey club, yes. I think a BLT is improved with turkey. That's my personal feeling. Number 10 is your tuna melt. Okay, good. Number 11, fried chicken sandwich. Now, these really mostly have become super popular recently because they're making those. They're making that hot chicken and what is it? Popeye? I don't know. It's not Kentucky. It's not Popeye. It's the other one. Is making those spicy fried chicken sandwiches, hot Louisiana hot chicken that everybody loves. I haven't had it. I would like to. Number 12, hello Philadelphia. So here I'm talking about your cheesesteak. Nothing wrong with that. Number 13. Again, you got to be. No, you don't have to be. It helps to be in Miami to have a real Cubano. It is a glorious sandwich made with roast pork and some ham and some cheese on a pressed kind of panini thing with mustard and pickles. That's a gorgeous sandwich. I mean, I tell you the truth, when you have a good Cuban, that's a top tenner for me. Number 14, meatball sub. And this one is big fat freaking meatballs on a giant Italian bread with the melted mozz on it. Number looks like 15 is your croque monsieur, inspired. It's a French thing with ham and melted cheese on French bread. Good. And the croque madame include ham, cheese, toasty. It's basically on French toast. I mean, that's part of the thing that makes it interesting. The croque monsieur, the croque madame, that is, has an egg on it as well. Number 17, hello, New York City, I say, because it's the Reuben sandwich, which gets you corned beef, and it gets you sauerkraut and Russian dressing on rye bread. That's a great sandwich, don't you think? Number 18, ethnic sandwich again. We're talking about, I call it the gyro. You may call it the gyro. It's when you get that meat that's carved off that rotating kind of spit there, put on a pita bread, lettuce, tomato, and that creamy white sauce I could never identify. Number 19, ladies and gentlemen, I take you to New Orleans where they make for you the po' boy. Now, they don't mention the muffaletta sandwich here, which is interesting because that's another New Orleans sandwich. But the po' boy is amazing, right? It's on beautiful, crusty French bread. And it has some kind of, usually, I'm going to say fried seafood, but it doesn't have to be. But I've had fried shrimp po' boy. I've had fried oyster po' boy. And it's an amazing and just, I mean, mouth-watering sandwich to have fried shrimp or fried oysters or even, dirty like, roast beef and cheese. But it's on this beautiful bread and they throw on, all the fixings and all that kind of stuff. They don't put muffaletta on this list, but that sandwich, again, is made with kind of all your Italian cold cuts, and it's jam-packed into some lovely bread that is pressed, but the thing that makes that one stand out is the olive spread, which, by the way, I recommended on last week's show, that if you go to Costco, they're literally selling what they call muffaletta salad, but it's a jar filled with kind of chopped up olives and peppers and is really great on almost any sandwich. I also, last week's show, episode number 81, spent the entire time talking about whiskey with our friend Paul, who has a whiskey company called Kansas, Clean Distilled Whiskey. I think it's fantastic, this stuff. Anyway, if you're into trying something different, whether or not you're a whiskey drinker, you have Kansas. It's not clear, but it's light colored, and it's a little, it tastes to me slightly sweet, and so it makes a lovely cocktail. Number 20. Oh, yeah. Hello, Italy. The caprese sandwich is predicated on the caprese salad. It's a beautiful piece of mozzarella. It's a lovely tomato, which coming into season within the next couple of months. And that gets served with a nice slice of basil, olive oil, and salt on two yummy pieces of Italian, what do you call it? What's that bread that we like? It's the... You guys know what I'm talking about. It's you put a panini on it, and I can't remember. Okay, fine. That's because I am in the process of drinking the mezcal. Number 21, patty melt. I'm going to give a patty. There's always this argument as to whether or not a hamburger is actually a sandwich. I don't care. That's not the thing, but a patty melt, let's call that a sandwich, and it's good. Number 22, your egg salad sandwich, which I don't think I've had an egg salad sandwich maybe ever intentionally, but I do like a deviled egg. Number 23, French dip. It's a great sandwich. You can get that one in a lot of places, but there's a couple of places in Los Angeles that are famous for it. Beautiful roast beef, sliced thin on kind of like hero bread, but it's served with a huge bowl of gravy, so you keep dipping it every time. That's a lovely sandwich. Number 24 is the PB&J. No wonder I was having a hard time reading that. Peanut butter and jelly. Classic, great. No complaints. these days, there's so many different kinds of peanut butters and jellies, but you know what? It's always like that's one where it's just even basic, Skippy and grape, jelly on Wonder Bread, man. It's a perfectly good sandwich. Number 20, who knows, 4, the torta. For that one, we think Mexico. It's a good Mexican flavored sandwich, lettuce, meat, lovely, bread because it's a sandwich. Number 26 is your basic roast beef sandwich. I personally like Russian. Number 27 goes to the French. It's the jambon beurre, which means ham butter. Butter on a French baguette with thinly sliced French ham. No problem there. I'm surprised how many of these, by the way. It just shows you, by the way, how kind of multicultural we all are. Number 28, tonkatsu. Crispy fried pork, thin, in between thin slices of bread. Good. Number 29, Monte Cristo sandwich. Sure. Number 30, your ham and cheese. Okay, fine. Number 31, bagel with lox. Sure, excellent. Number 32, Middle East, the falafel in a pita. And when you get like hot, really well-made falafel bowls inside a pita with all the different things that you want to put in, your lettuces, your tomatoes, your spicy peppers, that tahini kind of sauce, beautiful. Number 33, chicken salad sandwich. I love a chicken salad sandwich. I probably prefer it on toast. I also like curry chicken salad, which is oftentimes made with curry powder and maybe a couple of golden raisins. Number 34, veggie and hummus. Hard for me to get excited over that. I'm sure it's good. Number 35 is bologna. For me, it could have also have been salami. Number 36 is your Italian beef sandwich. Sure, good. 37, Kentucky hot brown turkey, cheese, mustardy sauce. Okay, fine. Number 38, bocadillo, Spanish. Ham sandwich on little bread. Lovely. Number 39, liverwurst. Not sure that I've actually, this sounds kind of funny, but I have no objection to it since I eat, liver and chopped liver, but I don't know that I've ever had a liverwurst sandwich. And number 40 is your cucumber tea sandwich, which I got to be honest with you is the first one I would throw off the list because I just don't care. I mean, if you're going to give me a tea sandwich where you have these little tiny dainty pieces of bread and you're cutting off the sides on these things, put something interesting in there. Give me some foie gras. Give me some pate. Give me some caviar. But you know what's missing for me? I would throw off the cucumber sandwich. I don't care about liverwurst one way or the other. Veggie and hummus you can keep. But I'll tell you the sandwich that I keep thinking of as I go through this list, and I don't see it here. And it's a chicken parmesan hero. It's a fried chicken, tomato sauce, mozzarella, melty, yummy on 2 giant slabs of Italian bread. Give me that one, a bottle of Chianti. I'm happy. What do you like? What are your sandwiches, people? Those are good. Goody, good. Now, I see a lot of things. I go a lot of places. I try a lot of different things. And fortunately, I got people sending me things sometimes, which is why tonight I'm going to tell you about mezcal, because I'm going into a couple of recommendations here. And then I'm going to transfer us to a conversation that I had with Lauren. I'm going to tell you Lauren's name when I get to it, but Lauren runs kind of what you would call the marketing, the social media for a company in the business of selling sustainability and sustainable products for restaurants. It's really interesting stuff, I think. I'll get to Lauren in a minute. Let me start with mezcal. which comes from the word mezcali, which means cooked agave. You know, I've been to Mexico a whole ton of times, and when you go there, you know you're going to drink tequila and Mexican beer and eat lovely Mexican food in a beautiful part of the world. But I came to discover there on many years ago mezcal, which fascinated me because when you grow up and you think about mezcal and you think about the worm in the bottle and you think about, like, you know, the old days and maybe having too much and eating the worm and all that kind of stuff, it's we didn't take mezcal as seriously in those days because it was kind of, we looked at it as like a drunk hallucinogenic. But times have really changed. Because mezcal is hot right now, especially among your hipsters. I mean, people are just drinking mezcal left and right. I don't care about that. What I care about is that I came to discover that this thing that's hot now has been made over in Mexico for literally thousands of years. We have a country that's, 250, 260, 270 years old. They've been making mezcal in Oaxaca for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of years. And the thing that I thought was interesting is not only that it's hip now to enjoy something that is that old, but the process for making mezcal, which comes from the agave plant, is incredibly sophisticated. I think that it takes more to make a mezcal than to essentially make almost anything else, because one of the things that they do is they cook the roots of the agave plant underground, and that caramelizes them, and that creates the flavor, and that also creates what a lot of people know from mezcal, which is that it tastes somewhat smoky. Recuerdo is the brand I want to tell you about. It stands for memory or keepsake or souvenir. There are two different kinds, generally speaking, of mezcal. One is called joven, which means young, and then that's a little bit oftentimes kind of smokier than the avocado, which has the worm in it, the gusano worm in it, because the gusano worm kind of pulls some of the harsher notes from the mezcal and gives it a silkier, smoother texture. Recuerdo is made from really some of the best agave espadin down there. It's grown, it's harvested, it's distilled, it's all there in Oaxaca, where basically 500 of the 600 mezcals come from. It's really good. So if you're going to try some mezcal, I'm going to tell you that you may want to try Recuerdo. Remember that there are two different kinds, the joven, the young one, and then the other one, the one with the gusano worm in it, is an avocado. And I'll tell you, I drink it just like this, which is to say, neat and sipped. It doesn't require anything. But you know what? You could use it instead of tequila if you want to make like a smoky margarita. You could use it with any kind of citrus juice. I mean, it's great with lime juice. It's great with grapefruit juice. And if you feel at that point that it needs a touch of sweetness, that's an opportunity to add in some agave syrup from the same plant, but just converted into something that is sweet. So, Recuerdo Mezcal. Find it, try it, like it. Let me give you some more recommendations before we have our conversation with Lauren. Number one is, hey, that's me. Number one see, I'm thrown off by the feedback from my very own voice. What I wanted to say to you was Mateo's. That's what it's called. It's Mateo's, and it is salsa. And I picked up Mateo's at Costco because, as you know, I'm the Costco hoe, but you don't have to go to Costco to get Mateo's. Generally, anything that they sell at Costco, you can get anywhere in the world. Mateo''S. I will make my own salsa when tomatoes are good. It's not complicated. It requires chopping up some tomatoes, putting in a little bit of jalapeno, red onion, salt, lime juice, and you're good. But every once in a while, when it's not tomato season, you pick up some salsa. I'm generally against salsa in a jar, but I was so tempted by this stuff when I was at Costco literally yesterday. Let me see if I could find out. Oh yeah, this stuff here. I was so tempted that I brought it home, opened it up, and tried it, and now I have to hide it from the rest of the family. It is that good. There's a lot of salsa in the world, and I think, I'm not sure what drew me to it, but then when I saw the label, I thought it was super funny. It's not responsible for obsession. MATEO''S. I think you can get it in mild, you can get it in medium, you can get it in spicy. I have the medium. I'm now hiding it from my family. The ingredients are simple: tomatoes, jalapeno peppers, cilantro, red wine vinegar, some garlic, salt, spice, lemon juice, concentrate. Now, I thought that what made it outstanding, frankly, was they don't mention it on their ingredient list, but I'm getting a lot of cumin out of that thing. Earthy, smoky cumin. I could be wrong, but I doubt it, because it seems to be the dominant spice flavor that they are listing on the ingredient list as Mateo's, MATEO''S. That's some really good salsa. And I understand when they say, by the way, not responsible for obsession, because I happen to have an obsessive relationship with chips and salsa. We all have our food. I mean, yeah, I got a problem with salted peanuts as well. But you know that food that you eat compulsively? Okay, I do. Not everybody is as disturbed as I am. But as I've said before, my favorite meal is happy hour. And happy hour involves some type of adult beverage coupled with some type of something that you're munching on. I like pistachios. I love cashews. But you know what? Give me some salted peanuts. In the shell, out of the shell. Salted Virginia peanuts. By the kilo, incidentally, at Costco, but any way you want to get them. Even the planters in a jar are super good, whether they're dry roasted, although I do prefer the oily, greasy, salty ones. And the other addiction, really compulsive eating, aside from the peanuts, is chips and salsa. I don't even need the rest of the Mexican meal. If I have my Recuerdo tequila, and I couple it with, chips, really good, tortilla chips and salsa, I'm good. I don't need anything else. Mateo's. Now, here's another snack, by the way. I don't have the same compulsion, but I discovered something. And what I discovered was gluten-free pretzels. I'm not a gluten-free. I don't have celiac. I don't have people in my family who do. But I came across Glutino pretzel twists. And I will never buy regular pretzels again if I have an option to buy them gluten-free. Why, you ask, if you don't care about gluten one way or the other? And the answer is because they're better pretzels. They have a more intense, super crunch, and I miss nothing in the taste. These gluten-free pretzels make regular pretzels feel like stale almost, you can flavor regular pretzels to make them interesting. Honey mustard, as an example, lovely. But man, gluten-free, and I'm only going to tell you about Glutino because I don't know the rest. This is the one that I tried. But once you go gluten-free, I don't see any reason to go back to regular old pretzels anymore. And finally, on the recommendation list is Simple Mills is the name of the company. And if you go to Simple Mills, SimpleMills.com, you will see an assortment of crackers, which include, just coincidentally, gluten-free crackers. So if you are concerned about gluten or celiac, you go to SimpleMills.com. Their products are great. And I've had their crunchy products and I've had their soft products, but I'm here to tell you about their crackers, man. They got some sea salt and rosemary, again, kind of addictive. So for today's recommendations, you've got your crackers from SimpleMills.com. And you can get them in supermarkets. You don't have to get them online. You can get them wherever. But Simple Mills, they're making some really good stuff. High quality ingredients, well made. Good on you, Simple Mills. Gluten-free pretzels from Glutino, excellent. Better to me, as I said, than regular pretzels. Mateo's salsa, that stuff is just killer. Mateos. I believe it's made in Texas, where good salsa can be found. And of course, Recuerdo mezcal, excellent. Next up, to conclude tonight's session, I will attempt the ever risky technological transfer from me to a conversation that I had with Lauren Olson, a sustainability expert for a company called WorldCentric. I don't know anything about sustainability. That's why I had the conversation with Lauren. And I ended up thinking, you know what? This is a good conversation to have. It's important to know. And any little steps that we can make that show respect for the world that we live in, for the environment, are good things. So here, assuming everything works, is my conversation with sustainability expert Lauren Olson from WorldCentric, where we talk about everything having to do with sustainability. Hey, everybody, say hello to Lauren. Lauren, first of all, tell everybody, where in the world are you? Where have we found you today?
I'm in Rohnert Park, California, so that's north of San Francisco, considered North Bay, for those of you out here, north of the city, as they say.
Okay, and but you have not been here for a very long time. You are a transplant, am I correct?
That's right, yeah. I moved here 6 months ago for my position as Zero Waste Manager at WorldCentric. We make compostable food serviceware.
Understand. Okay, so tell everybody at the very beginning, in kind of very basic language, what do we mean when we say sustainability? What are we trying to accomplish?
Well, sustainability is really an all-encompassing term that's all about the social justice element, the human element, and how that interacts with the environment. So treating people in a fair way and doing things in a way that's more eco-friendly.
Okay, so that's fine. And what eco-friendly translates to what? Give some kind of practical examples of how, and I'm asking you this in the most kind of naive way, right? I mean, I don't remember how long ago I started hearing about sustainability, but I'll tell you this: I didn't grow up with it, right? So as a concept, it's relatively new, and I think people understand. I think many people understand, kind of in general, what it means to sustain, what sustainability is. But I feel like what are the practical applications? Like what are we doing now that we haven't kind of done historically, and what benefit does it serve?
Like for example, at WorldCentric, we use bioplastic in the place of petroleum plastic.
Uh-huh.
And the benefits of bioplastic, which is made from plants, as opposed to petroleum, is that we're not using a non-renewable fossil fuel,
Okay.
which takes, untold amounts of energy to actually find. And, we've been fighting wars about for many decades. So it's all about looking at different needs that humans have. For example, the need for, unfortunately, single-use wear, just can't be relied upon to have reusables on us at all times. But we're getting there, and finding different ways to do them in which are more socially and environmentally just.
I like it, and I think it's also, let's face it, a generational thing. I have daughters, and during this kind of pandemic hideaway, one of my daughters could not help but notice how many of these I cook. You know what I mean? So I'm big on leftovers. One of my daughters could not help but notice how many plastic bags I went through, and she said, "What if we don't use these anymore?" And I said, "Fine, put them away." And then we found alternatives. Now, I'm not telling you that the alternative that I found might be suitable to a professional like yourself, but all of a sudden, I'm not using plastic bags anymore. So, but I think from a generational perspective, it's more likely that the younger type of generation is more really in touch with protecting the environment that's going to end up being theirs anyway. Yes?
Yeah, definitely. The millennial generation that I'm a part of, as well as Generation Z, we're very concerned about the current trajectory of things. We've been hearing our entire lives about climate change and, the possibilities and, seeing the effects, and we're ready to turn that ship around. So I think that, taking simple steps, such as using less plastic bags, is a good one. Now, what did you end up using instead of plastic bags for your leftovers?
Well, I mean, it's a good question. I was afraid you were going to ask. But here's what we ended up using instead. The plastic that we're taking from takeout. In other words, rather than throw away the plastic container that we bought the pea soup in, that gets rinsed and washed and reused. So I mean, it's still plastic. It's just that it's basically you can use it a dozen times instead of using a dozen different plastic bags. Am I making some improvement there, Laura?
Oh, definitely. Anytime that you're reusing something, rather than using it just once, you're making a big effect on your environmental footprint. So I think that's a great way to go. I know I reuse like my old yogurt containers and things like that. And it's also thrifty. It's cheaper. And, one less thing to get from the store. I know we're all trying to get in and out of those grocery stores very quickly during this pandemic. So anything that you can do to think less while you're in the store, one less thing to check off your list.
Yeah. And on a personal note, in a past life in the advertising business, I had to make a trip once to the Dow Chemical factory in Indianapolis. And long story short, I was not impressed. And I couldn't help but think, and I'm going back 20 years or however many it was, and I couldn't help but think how much has to go into making these plastic products that they make, and how much pollution goes into the air as a consequence, and how much of an expense. So, I mean, I know people are going to be pissed off, but I don't care. I mean, anything that I can do. In fact, I'm going to tell you, because I'm feeling kind of now altruistic, that I also save, glass pickle jars, and that. So I have a refrigerator filled with leftovers that's going into glass instead of plastic. I'm doing that too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, glass is a great inert material. Even reusing plastic has its difficulties in terms of possible leaching and things like that. So yeah, you're doing the right thing. And yeah, it is insane how much goes into making plastic. They say that the ethylene and other different chemicals that come from crude oil refinement that goes into making plastic, they call them feedstocks, but really they're byproducts of the crude oil industry, and they've been sold to us as plastic, and now municipal recycling programs and all of us are in charge of disposing them. So they're really byproducts that they were looking to find a home for, and now we're doing the pickup for them. And really the environment is paying the price in terms of microplastics in the ocean, as well as just the influx of plastic that maybe has nowhere to go, particularly with China's new regulations about how much recycling they want to take.
Yeah, it's always sad when you see those pictures of the straws and the stuff that ends up coming out of the water. It's depressing. What's the name of the company again?
World-Centric. So we were founded in 2009 as actually a nonprofit, and then
I'm still here, people. I can't ever explain why these things happen. That's not going to work. Let's see if we try this. Might be suitable to a professional like yourself, but wait, let's fast forward.
Plastic bags for your leftovers.
Well, I mean, it's a good question. I was afraid you were going to ask. Okay, let's keep going. I'm going to tell you because I'm feeling kind of napped. I don't know what happened, but I can't get through a show without a technical.
Anytime that you see those sort of off-white compostable, cutlery that might be ours, especially as a teardrop cutout. We have hot cups and cold cups, so for your coffee and your drinks. And then we also have the clamshells, which are the typical thing you might see when you go and get takeout. And what's great about this is that after you're done with your food, especially if you have access to commercial composting in your area, you can just put the leftover food and the actual takeoutware into your compost, and the whole thing can be composted and turned back into soil.
That's very excellent. Glad to hear that, and I feel like now I know exactly the stuff that you're talking about, which if you go into kind of the large, my recollection is they're going into like large chain type restaurants, and they're serving you the food these days, whether it's Mexican or salads or whatever it is, even super healthy stuff, in containers that then go into a specialized. They go into their own unique compostable place. That's very good. I like that. So I guess the big question here, the big general question, before I ask you a couple more kind of specific questions related to the time that we're in right now, is what are some of the 2 or 3 things, best things, most efficient things, most productive things that people can do to kind of promote, sustain, increase the sustainability type. I don't know what you call it, but to do better at sustainability. What are some of the things that people should be doing?
Well, during the pandemic, there's certain challenges, obviously, but I encourage people not to slide back too far on their personal sustainability goals. So, for example, I know in my area they're not allowing for me to bring in reusable bags into the grocery store. But if I'm doing a big grocery trip, I just cart out my items without bags, and then I bag it back in my car,
right,
in my bags, because I don't have any need for all of these single-use bags. I don't know what I would do with them, and I don't want to worry about recycling or getting rid of them. So that's one thing. And when I was looking at the different videos of people stocking up when this all started, I saw a lot of people buying water bottles. And that seems totally unnecessary, particularly because we're all at home. I don't know what you need a single-use water bottle for. So, no better time to invest maybe in a filter and just drink tap. So much better for the environment to not transport water. The other thing you can do is use reusable towels at home. No use for paper towel if you're doing a simple cleanup. Invest in some towels, and you can then wash those and reuse those over and over for years and years to come. And again, another thing you don't have to buy at the store.
Those are all very, very good and easy to execute ideas. The 2 things immediately jump to mind. One is that I oftentimes on the show, I refer to myself as the Costco hoe, because I do generally go to Costco every single week of my life. I'm a deep love for the place. And it was only recently, and not for sustainability issues, to be frank about it. It was only recently that I started just kind of packing my own stuff, which you kind of have to do with Costco anyway. But it does, and New York just recently enacted the thing within you kind of have to bring your own bags with it. At this point, maybe they sell you some kind of bag. But the idea of packing your own groceries in your own in your own bag or whatever it is that you bring to pack them in makes total sense to me and eliminates a whole category of unnecessary single-use plastic bags. And then the other thing is that it reminded me that the kid who took me off the plastic bags had just come from spending a semester abroad in Denmark. And one of the learnings that she had there from hanging out with a Danish family periodically was how conscientious they were about this exact issue, about sustainability, about protecting environment, about being responsible. Where are we as a country relative to the rest of the world?
I would say we're definitely falling behind. Certainly some states are working to enact different, single-use plastic measures. Like you mentioned, New York City had their bag ban coming into effect. I think it was put on pause due to the pandemic, but that's a big way to cut down on single-use plastic. Certainly the straw bans, styrofoam bans. Some places have gone even farther, like in Berkeley, California, for example. If you have dine-in available, this was, pre-pandemic, we were eating at restaurants, you weren't allowed to use single-use any sort of tableware, even if it was compostable, just because they said reusables are best. So I think some areas are really stepping up the game, but as a country as a whole, we're really kind of falling behind on all of that.
Well, that's why it's good news that there are people like you who are in a position to communicate, convey, and promote the idea. So I'm glad that we're spending time talking about it. I'm happy to be talking to you. Remind me, you're did you say North Bay? Like, where in California are you generally located?
We're about an hour north of San Francisco.
Well, I'm envious of that. I mean, I feel like I've been here. I was born in Manhattan. It's FYI. I mean, I know you can tell from my accent that I'm a New Yorker type person, but I could easily move an hour north of San Francisco because I think it's a great part of the world. Now, let me. I feel like this is very good. I don't need to. Well, here, let me look. Here's this. Here's a question for you, Lauren. Are there zero waste snacks? What's a zero waste snack mean?
So zero waste snacks is all about, maybe getting things in bulk, like some celery or something like that, and, putting it in a reusable container. So taking that on your picnic or to your barbecue. So really avoiding single-use packaging, like not having, individual packs of potato chips. And that's a particularly nasty packaging because it's a metallized plastic, so it's unrecyclable in any system. So it's all about, thinking ahead about what type of packaging things come in, not focusing on smaller packages, focusing on bulk packaging and reusable ways to carry things.
What about? I'm looking at some of these questions that I've jotted down here to see if there's anything else, because I do feel like the most important question I'm going to ask you I will save till last. So let me just see if there's anything here. Eco-friendly tableware. That's a thing, huh?
Yeah, so that's what World Centric makes. So all of our stuff is made from agricultural byproducts and plants, and so it's a different way of really thinking about what goes on your table, using less petroleum plastic or no petroleum plastic items.
Lauren, is it only available to industry, or can consumers buy from the company as well?
Yeah, we have an online shop, worldcentric.com. We're also available at some Target and Whole Foods stores, as well as Amazon.
Spell it out so that I can make sure that people know that that's where they can go. World, is it Centric?
Yeah, so WORLDCENTRIC.com.
Yeah, exactly as you would expect. All right, thank you for that. So that's good. That's serving. And I would say, anything else, though, that you think is important to convey before I ask you one big final question?
No. Let's do your question.
Yeah, exactly. I've been selling it like it's some big deal. No, I think that one of the things I couldn't help but notice during this period, this just the new normal period, is that when we recover from these type of colossal events, there are definitely changes in patterns and behaviors. Things change. What I'm thinking, my gut tells me that this particular moment in time is probably going to be a good one for sustainability, for the kind of people and companies who do the work that you do. Tell me if I'm mistaken or why I may be right.
I think you may be right, because I think people are really taking stock of what is important, and people are out there exploring their environment maybe for the first time, like exploring their neighborhood, seeing wildflowers maybe they never took the time to look at, just because they have the time, and they also need to get outside of their house because they're so cooped up. So I think people are going to come out of this really wanting to make a better step forward. And the other thing is that we've all seen how much our lives can change in a week, or maybe even overnight, in the afternoon, and because of this massive event. And, scientists have been warning us about pandemics forever. And also, scientists have been warning us about climate change for a very long time. And so I think we need to take some of this appreciation for scientists and what they have to say, and utilize that to maybe think about how we want to change our lives for the better to prevent a catastrophe of climate change in different areas of America.
Very good. I think you're right as well. So we agree with each other on that. Lauren Olson, worldcentric.com. She is, ladies and gentlemen, our guru on the subject of all things sustainable and sustainability. Lauren, a pleasure to speak with you. Very much appreciate your time, your insight, your information, and look forward to making the world a better place together.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yes, my friends, I'm back with you. Rob Rosenthal, All You Can Eat, episode number 82, including my conversation with Lauren Olson from World Centric on the subject of sustainability, which, to be honest with you, that was a learning for me. And all I'm going to tell anybody who is tuning in at this point is it's not difficult nor complicated, nor too much of a sacrifice to be more conscientious about creating less waste, honestly, and using less, plastic. And it's a good thing to do, and it feels good doing it. So thank you, Lauren, for that. That was very good. Now, I would say at this point, generally, they like to throw me off the program, but we have a few minutes together still. So let's see. In a week or so, in a week from Friday. Now, if today's 10, 11, 12, 19th, I believe, right before the Father's Day. If you're interested, I'm offering up an online, cooking class because it's what I do. In this particular online cooking class, limited to only 6 human beings, 6 people with a connection to Zoom, together in an interactive, kind of hands-on and super fun way, we're going to make a beautiful little Mexican feast together. It's going to start off with some margaritas, a couple different kinds. Then we are going together to make a quesadilla, and there's no reason why we're not going to make guacamole, because guacamole is makeable, a no-cook miracle of fabulousness. Then I'm going to show how to make fajitas, both chicken and steak sizzling with onions and peppers. My goodness, that is a deliciousness. And we will end the meal with a delightful, refreshing, sweet Mexican type of dessert. If this interests you, this hour and a half long session, I'll tell you what, you just get in touch with me. And I think the easiest way at this point is to hit me up on the email, shortorderdad, that's one word, shortorderdad, @gmail.com, and say, hey, Rob, I'm interested in that class. Tell me more, and I will send you the information. But again, only half a dozen people I'm going to do so that you can all feel part of the process. And frankly, if you're listening to this thing live or anytime before Father's Day, hey, yo, that's a good gift right there. It's the gift of Rob. You want to give something different for Father's Day? Give me. shortorderdad@gmail.com. Now, here's another Father's Day concept, and it's not bad, and it's only going to run you, I'm going to guess, I don't know what they're selling it for these days on Amazon. If you go, you know that I published a book some years ago, Short Order Dad, One Guy's Guide to Making Food Fun and Hassle-Free. If you bought the book at a bookstore, I think they were, if it wasn't $18.99, then maybe it was $17.99. It was right around $18 for the book if you bought it right in the bookstore. But it's been on Amazon now for a couple of years, and sometimes I go on and the book is like $10, $12, and then I've seen it for, $3.69, whatever. I would say, it's like, do you ever go shop for flowers as you get closer to Mother's Day or Valentine's Day, and you notice that those same dozen roses that had been $10 are now $25? Well, it's the same thing with Short Order Dad, One Guy's Guide to Making Food Fun and Hassle-Free. I don't think it's too expensive for you at this point, but man, what a great Father's Day gift. Click a button on Amazon, have it sent to whomever, Short Order Dad, One Guy's Guide to Making Food Fun and Hassle-Free is the cookbook that I wrote, and it's based on the premise that I went to cooking school so that you don't have to. I'll show you how to get the most taste with the fewest ingredients and the least effort, and I do it in a way that's freaking fun, because I care about fun. Some people like sustainability. Some people go for fun. So in our remaining 1 minute, let us recap where we've been with episode number 82. We talked about a whole lot of sandwiches. We made some recommendations, including, beautiful mezcal, recuerdo, and, you have not potato chips, but pretzels. We talked about sustainability, little things that you can do. I'm also going to recommend, as I said, both a cooking class as a Father's Day gift or for $10 or whatever they're charging these days on Amazon. Go grab Short Order Dad, One Guy's Guide to Making Food Fun and Hassle-Free. That, my friends, is episode 82 of All You Can Eat, which you can find the first 81 episodes on iHeart if you search for All You Can Eat or Rob Rosenthal on iHeart Podcasts. You can also find me on Spotify if you want to take this and share it. Tell your friends, spread the love, and remember this above all else, my friends, life is short, so never waste a meal.
I'm the Teflon Pan Man. I'm the Teflon Pan Man. Ain't nothing gonna stick on